Hello, everyone. Before we get right into it, it's a 2 year anniversary video. Man, it's been 2 years. Don't know if that's long or not, but it's been 2 years. And I put out a lot of videos, like a scary amount. I should really start getting a budget for this thing. But I just want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and to the people who watch some of my videos. I still have a lot that have zero views, but I understand if you don't want to watch them. Kind of. Anyway, thank you so much. And so for this 2 year anniversary video, I want to look back on the reason why I even started this in the first place, because I kind of need it. So, I decided to talk about the two most famous movie reviewers on YouTube that have inspired me to try and do this. That would be the Cinema Snob and the Nostalgia Critic. Very good reviewers, but now it's time to put them up against each other. That's right, it's a movie reviewer face-off of sorts. So we're gonna do this. Are you with me, Guachi? He's with me on this. So let's get started. We're gonna compare them in 5 different categories. So let's probably get started with this. Start with round 1. Real life backstory. So the men behind the Cinema Snob and the Nostalgia Critic are Brad Jones and Doug Walker, respectively. And so with Brad Jones as the Cinema Snob, the main creation of his character, the Snob, came from the Ebert and Siskel review of Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and their negative thoughts on the movie. And Brad Jones is known to be a fan of exploitation films such as slasher films and all that kind of stuff. And so he's always found it kind of interesting that, well, reviewers like Ebert and Siskel would review those kinds of films. So he decided to create a sort of snob or critic that's created by someone who loves exploitation films for people who love exploitation films. Which is a pretty interesting and kind of a unique idea, actually. As for Doug Walker and the Nostalgia Critic, I really don't know that much about like the real life beginnings of the Nostalgia Critic. I know Doug Walker probably did a lot of stuff for another famous YouTuber called the Angry Video Game Nerd before leaving to do his own YouTube channel deal. And as far as like real life inspiration, it seems like he's just someone who thought this would be a good and fun thing to do to help people laugh and felt pretty passionate about it. Which is good inspiration and motivation, but it is a little more on the more slightly less unique side. Not that I don't admire that he went out and did this at all. I think it was actually pretty great what he did. But in terms of being a little bit more unique in terms of inspiration and motivation, I'm going to give this one to the Cinema Snob. Now let's move on to round 2, the fictional story of their characters. So, while obviously Doug Walker and Brad Jones play their own characters, their characters have sort of taken on a life of their own in their own little fictional, exaggerated world. With the Cinema Snob, it doesn't really matter that much about its fictional world because even he admits, this is probably going to be too much for it, let's not do it. Which is kind of funny. As for the Nostalgia Critic, there are countless of other fan films, well, not fan films, but films from the channel awesome slash that guy with the glasses.com, where a bunch of other famous YouTube personalities come together and make their own, like, movies that tell, like, fictional stories that involve their fictional personalities. And it does help explain why at one point in time the Nostalgia Critic ended, but then a different sort of video explained how and why Doug Walker decided to bring Nostalgia Critic back, which gives the character a little more of a fleshed out world and history. So with that in mind, I'm giving this round to Nostalgia Critic. Now let's move on to round 3, the supporting cast of both of their channels. For the Nostalgia Critic, we have Malcolm, Tamara, Jim, and Doug's brother, Rob Walker. They all appear in several other different nostalgia critic videos, either playing fictional characters and just helping perform sketches and help review certain movies. And they all put in a lot of work and they're all really great at what they do. With the Cinema Snob, there are other people, but for the life of me, I can't remember their names. um, I know that Cinema Snob's wife, Laura, sometimes shows up in small cameos, but I wouldn't say she's really part of a cast or anything. Really, most of the work falls on the Cinema Snob. Although, other people show up in regular reviews, their midnight reviews of movies that are currently out in theaters, like Glass, What Men Want. So those aren't really Cinema Snob episodes, but they are still movie review episodes. But like I said, for the life of me, I can't remember any of those other people's names. So I'm going to give this round to the Nostalgia Critic. Now let's move on to round 4, their specialty. So the Nostalgia Critic reviews movies that are from his childhood or have a certain nostalgic connection. Like It. He reviewed this version of It as well as the miniseries version of It as well. And the deal with reviewing those kinds of movies is try to look back on certain movies that have been around for a while and try to see if they hold up that well or if they're as good as some people remember, or try to point out something many people may have overlooked or forgotten. And in a lot of those videos, certain good points do get brought up. For the Cinema Snob, due to his inspiration of exploitation films, his specialty is mainly in exploitation films that either a lot of people don't really know about or are infamously bad or notorious for their low quality. However, in recent years, he has gone into more films that, while still exploitation, are a little bit more mainstream, like the Friday the 13th movies. See, there's the final chapter, the main one that gave him the inspiration for his character. And he has reviewed the entire franchise of this, by the way, except for the remake. So those are the two specialties of the different movie critics. So with the Nostalgia Critic, there are going to be a lot of people that probably are still going to either like or dislike the movie that he sometimes brings up in one of his videos. So really not a lot of people's minds get changed or made up about certain movies because the movies he talks about, a lot of people either already have their own definitive opinions on. With the Cinema Snob, you get to watch a lot of movies that chances are you probably have never really seen and you can just sit back and enjoy with the snob or hate like the snob. So for that, I'm going to give this round to the Cinema Snob. Now let's move on to the 5th and final round, personality. Both of these personalities are kind of assholes, but they're cool and fun assholes. With the Nostalgia Critic, he gets angry, high-pitched, sometimes when he's really angry, and kind of giddy in certain moments as well. He's kind of like a little of a well-rounded personality, but he is a little bit more of a more on the slightly selfish side in certain moments in certain reviews. So he's kind of like a little all over the place, but in a good way, in a more well-rounded, sort of balanced way. With the Snob, he is famous for being kind of like the snobby guy who always looks down on certain movies, even though he secretly really enjoys them, or not so secretly because it's really obvious. That was my attempt at of impression. Not that good, but you get the idea. So it is a little bit more of a unique personality, a little bit more focused in terms of how he portrays this character, but it gives him more of a distinction among a wide sea of other different reviewers. So, taking that into account, I'm actually going to give this one to the Snob. Yeah, the Cinema Snob wins this round and the movie reviewer face-off. Now, of course, Both of these movie critics I really enjoy and really help give me inspiration for this channel. Hopefully one day I'll have a budget. But yeah, kinda needed this. Just to remind myself why I'm doing this. Ooh, that reminds me, another Cinema Snob episode comes out today. I can't wait. Ready, Quachi? He's so ready for the new Cinema Snob video, whatever it is. So that's all I really have to say right now. Thank you so much, subscribers, for 2 years of videos. And hopefully, someday soon I'll get a budget and repay you back with more high quality videos. But until then, subscribe, like, comment, share, and we'll see you guys next time.